Hi everybody, my name is Caitlin Seagraves. I work at Central Library where I teach technology classes. Today I'd actually like to introduce Ellen Knoll. She is going to be talking about library resources for the job hunt as part of our weekly Tech Talk series. Ellen is an associate in the Adult Services Department at Central Library, and she is often the person I go to when I have questions about a lot of these resources. The beginning of this class will start a little abruptly because I forgot to hit the record button at the very start. But without further ado, we will go ahead and kick off. Thanks for coming.
When we offer in-person programming, I teach some classes on job hunting there, and hopefully we'll be able to get back to that soon. But for now, I wanted to talk about some of the ones that we offer. I have the basic outline of what I'll be going over on this little Jamboard here. But basically, we'll be going through the #1 job hunting resource that we have with the library, which is Job Now. It is entirely about job hunting. It has a lot of wonderful things in it, so we'll start there. Then we're going to talk about some of our resources for growing your skills when you're looking for a job, if you're looking to change careers, or if you're finding that you're not getting the hire or the jobs or promotions that you would like to get. We have some really wonderful and completely free with your library card ways to grow your skills using classes online. And then we're going to be doing the insider knowledge section. This is, in my mind, this section is really labeled, yeah, sure, you could use that database to look for a job. And you can. And then finally, we'll talk a little bit about getting books on this subject. Of course, you can do curbside pickup and get physical books, and we'll talk about good keywords to use to look for those. But also we have wonderful downloadable resources for books or audiobooks for job hunting. So let's get started by going to everyone's favorite website, tulsalibrary.org. So now that we are here, there are some pretty fast ways to get to what you want. I would start by going to the Research tab. And then if you scroll down to Career Center, we actually have a whole section of our website that is dedicated to job hunting materials. And we have a lot of very interesting things on here. We go through in Find Job Openings, you'll find resources for reputable job sites that we encourage you to check out. The resumes and cover letters section is going to have a couple of different books or articles about resumes and cover letters. Same with interviews. And then Job Now, that's that great resource we're excited about. So you can explore this whole section, and a lot of the things I'll be talking about are found on this section. The one thing that I don't want to make sure I mention in case it doesn't come up later, Workforce Tulsa. We are big Workforce fans here at the library, and we encourage people who are looking for jobs to connect with them because they are a great way to connect with people in Tulsa who are looking for you, who want you to come work for their company. So let's start looking at Job Now. Job Now is accessible from anywhere as long as you have your library card with you. And I did this in an incognito window so that it would make me sign in. Excellent, okay. So if you just click on that Job Now banner off to the side, you can also, we link to it quite a lot, so this would also take you to Job Now. But let's go to Job Help Now. I'm going to sign in with my last name and my library card number. Caitlin was making fun of me for having autofill turned on, but did you see how easy that was? It's very easy. Okay, so they have a lot of resume templates. They have articles with tips. They have articles with tips for resumes, for interviews, all of those wonderful things. But those are things you can find other places on the internet. What's really exciting about Job Now is that you have the live resume expert and the resume lab. So with these two, and that's the same for the live interview coach and the live job coach. These are, oh no. Close that. I always do that. I always accidentally open up a window and then someone from Job Now tries to talk to me. But with the live resume experts, at certain times during the day, I can't remember them off the top of my head right now, there are people who are available to you through Job Now. You can ask them your resume questions. You can just jump on real quick and say, hey, I was in this job for only 3 months, but it has skills that are really important to what I'm applying for. Do I put it on my resume? And they'll help talk you through that and go through those sorts of things. They also, and they're really great for those quick questions, things where you just want to check in with someone who knows what they're talking about. But the other thing they have is the Resume Lab, which is awesome. So the Resume Lab, you will submit a resume to them, and then after a few days, you will receive it back with all sorts of recommendations. It's really handy, especially if it's been a while since you've had to write a resume, or if you're finding that the resume you're sending out isn't getting the kind of response that you want. Then going through Job Now and being able to just really easily submit it through here. You do make a username and password, but it's entirely free because you have your library card. This is just so that you'll be able to sign back in and get the response to what you had sent in. But they'll go through, they'll give you ideas on what to change, and it is super helpful. Other thing they have, and this time I'm going to try not to click on it, is the live interview coach. So obviously, interviews are one of the most stressful parts of any job application process. And I assume a lot of interviews now are happening via webcam or through the phone. So it's another way for you to get more comfortable with the interview, especially with a time like this where interviews are happening differently than you might have expected. The live interview coach, you can actually go in and do sort of like a practice interview. You can ask them questions about how your responses sound, whether or not you need to change things up. The interview tips has a lot of wonderful sample questions, which I always enjoy. It is, I personally find it very calming to go through the sample questions and get all of my responses figured out. And they don't just give you sample questions, they tell you not what to say, but they give you some information about what the interviewer wants. What they actually are looking for out of this question, what would be a good response. So they have, and that's going to be the same for their resume resources, the optimal resume. They give a lot of really great tips in this section. They also, under career resources, and I just enjoy this, for career assessments, they have little aptitude tests. If you're considering what career you might want to go into, you can take a few of these. They'll give you some idea of what fits with your hobbies, with what your skills are, areas where they think that you would really excel. And because it's Job Now, under career resources, they also have the live job coach. So that is another option where you can immediately be chatting with someone. Yes, Caitlin, you have a question?
Did you take the assessment, and what did it tell you that would be?
I take the assessment regularly. I love taking quizzes. Annoyingly, it often tells me I should work in a library. I was hoping it would switch it up a little bit, but it doesn't. So, depending on how you feel about that, you could say that it's a pretty good assessment. Yeah, and then the live job coach, it's great. So, one thing, because I want to remain very impartial here, despite the fact that we are talking about library resources, the resume templates are fine. They're fine. They, if it downloads, it wants to open in Word, which means you need to have Word, and it looks like a perfectly reasonable resume. But other than that, am going to sneak something into this particular part. So yes, you could use the resume templates on Job Now. They're very good. I encourage you to look at them if you have trouble with making your resume, because they do offer really good explanations for the different sections and what the employer is looking for in those sections. But we're gonna sneak on over to Google real quick, because if you have a Google account, then you also, oh no, the thing's in front of it. You also have Google Docs. And Google Docs is super fun because it is essentially a free version of Microsoft Word. It is as long as you've got a Google account, you have access to Google Docs. And they have resume templates. And they have good resume templates. And they are saved online. They're saved automatically. So you don't have to worry about where your copy of your resume was saved, or if it even was saved, and then having to type it back up again every time you're reapplying to jobs. It is really handy to have your resume saved in, even if you don't use Google Docs to make the resume, having it saved online is a wonderful way to make job hunting easier for yourself, because often the websites you're applying to are going to want you to submit your resume digitally. They'll want you to upload it to the website, and you're going to want to have it available pretty much anywhere. So, wow, a lovely resume. And you just go in and edit all the things that are not what they should be. And you can have a great resume using Google. This is not a library resource, but I do think you should use it. So that is my Job Now overview. It was kind of fast. If anyone has any questions, you can let Caitlin or I know. But now we're going to talk about the part, no offense to Job Now, but the part that I think is the most fun of all of this, which is the growing your skills section. So we have a handful of continuing education databases, essentially, that are available with your library card. And they're pretty fantastic. So let's go back to that website we love, tulsalibrary.org. And there are a couple of different ways to get to these resources I'm going to be telling you about. I'm going to show you what I think is the easiest path to remember. But if you're ever looking for something, if you remember that it had been talked about in a talk like this and you can't find it, our search bar is going to search both our catalog and our website. So if I put in Lynda on here and then hit search and then wait patiently, then yes, you have all of the actual parts of that there. And then you have all of our website results, and there would be more if we went through that. But what we want is actually right here, lynda.com. Lynda is a special one because there's the paid version of Lynda and then the library version. They're the exact same, but if you type lynda.com just into your address bar and go there, it's not going to take you to the one with your Tulsa Library account. And you want to do that because you want it to be free. So, easiest way to get to these learning resources, you go to tulsalibrary.org and then programs and services, and then you scroll down a little to online learning. Now we have 5 resources listed here. I'm going to talk about the first 4. ArtistWorks is perfectly lovely. It's wonderful. If the career that you're looking at involves art in some way, like singing or drawing or anything, then you can find some great instructional videos on ArtistWorks, but I will be focusing on the others. So we'll start with lynda.com. We're going to start with what I would say is my favorite one. Lynda.com is a training website that people regularly pay money for. It is a very popular one, and it is a trusted one. So if we go to lynda.com, and you can see that because I used the link from the library's website, they're immediately prompting me to put in my library card number and my library card PIN. And this is going to be the same library card number and password combination that you would use to get into your account on our website, or if you were signing into a library computer, it's going to be that. So we're going to pretend that my thing doesn't autofill and that you can't see my library card, and sign on in. So one of the things I really like about Lynda is the learning paths. If you were, for instance, interested in making a career move to becoming a web developer, then you would be able to go through their learning path, and it's not just one class, because obviously it's not just one class to go from not being a web developer to being a web developer, but it is a whole selection of courses that you can take, and you can tie your Lynda account to your LinkedIn account, and then the courses that you complete on here they will give you certificates that will appear on your Lynda or on your LinkedIn, so that prospective employers can see that you have gone through these extensive and, again, respected courses on whatever field you're getting into. So if we go to the library, then they have all of these different sections. Within those sections, I'm going to go with IT because I feel like it's the easiest one to sort of go with. You might decide that you want to learn more about security on technology. You might decide that you need to know more about Excel. You're going into a job, or you're applying to jobs where being a master in Excel is something that is going to give you an upper hand. So you could focus on a kind of software with Excel. Or again, if you're looking to get into a certain kind of job, then you can go to the Become an IT Security Specialist learning path. And they will have a whole section that is just dedicated to that. You can complete it as time allows. And it's super handy. And I don't know, Caitlin, I'll be interested if you have any feedback on this. I usually point people to Lynda because they're interested in technology questions. I feel like that's really where Lynda shines. They do have classes on like sales pitches and managing a team, but technology is really where they shine.
Yeah, and the thing I like about Lynda the most, especially if you're looking to learn particular software, if you're working on a tutorial and they are using some sort of graphic or file on the screen, you can actually download the exercise file that they're working with and do side by side with them. So it's a really good hands-on tool that I don't know that I've seen anywhere else on the internet. So
that is super cool. I didn't even know they did that. Nice. So lynda.com, benefits tied to your LinkedIn account, lets everyone know how smart you are and the wonderful things you've achieved. Really good for getting up to date on technology, or I'm going to call this 1-3, exploring an entirely new field, assuming it's technology. So they're one that I really encourage people to check out. They're super cool. The next one we're going to talk about, we're actually going to skip down to Learning Express because we are doing this in order of how much I like these particular databases. Not to insult Universal Class, who I do love. Okay, Learning Express is next because Learning Express wants to help you with the tests that you need to take to get into specific careers. So I believe we're going to be in career preparation. Yes. So if you want to become an air traffic controller, that's a very specific thing, and you want to go through the test for that, then you can click Prepare for the Air Traffic Controller exam, and then not only will it have practice tests, but it will have it'll have like an ebook you can go through to learn more about it. And honestly, this is less than it usually has. There we go. It's the same with the cosmetology certification, which is so difficult. It is so much chemistry, but they have all of these different things. Yeah, that's more what I was expecting. When you start to get into areas like nursing exams, where there's a lot of structure in there, then they have practice tests, they have the test prep ebooks, they even have flashcards you can go to, and all of these are free with your library card. You are encouraged to make an account so that you can keep track of this. And I know that there have been, I've helped a decent amount of people who were going through these programs with their school or with their work, and who would like print off the completion sheets at the end showing that they had gone through these practices, just as a way to show that they were preparing for the exam before everything happened. But it's really convenient for those super specific career tests that you need to take to get into those careers, where maybe we don't have a million study guides, like physical study guides, lying around the library that we can hand you, but you can have a wonderful and up-to-date experience by going to Learning Express.
And one thing I like about this too, sorry to interrupt.
No.
On their practice exams, a lot of them are timed. So if you are taking a timed exam, you can save your spot and get back to it later. But it does give you kind of a good idea of like what the exam experience will look like, because a lot of these exams are timed, and something to keep in mind while you're studying.
This is true. And an increasing number of these sorts of tests are ones that you have to take on a computer. So it's another good part to go through that experience there. Okay. Now, before we get back to Universal class, we're going to swing by Mango Languages real quick. If you want to spruce up your resume a little bit by putting in another language that you speak, which would make you incredibly desirable in any job market, then you can use Mango Languages. So there is a free app that you can download for a tablet device or a smartphone. You can also just use the web application, just do it through the browser. Okay. No one sees this part. Okay, Caitlin, can you please back me up on the fact that I did practice before, and yet I still got that wrong? Okay. So Mango Languages. They are a wonderful partner. We like them a lot. The Tulsa Library actually worked with Mango Languages to get, I believe it was Cherokee that we got added to Mango. So they have a lot of wonderful resources. One thing I really enjoy about them, if I can get to explore, sorry, not where I wanted to go. Thank you. No regrets.
If you hit that orange button in the top left-hand corner.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I'm a little more used to using the app than I am to using this version. So you have all of these different languages that you can go through and learn. There are also a few that will have job-specific sections. The Spanish one, there's actually a Spanish for librarians that you can go through that just gives you a sort of quick breakdown of the like everyday Spanish that you might need if you are working in, for instance, a public library. It's a pretty awesome thing that they have. A lot of the other ones are like Spanish for sports events. So maybe you just want a little more Spanish for when you go watch sports. Who knows? But there are a lot of great things that you can do here, and I believe it is also tied to LinkedIn, Caitlin?
I don't know about that one. I haven't heard that, but that doesn't mean that that's not the case.
Okay, I will say that you can get a certificate at the end of it. So even if it turns out that it's not directly tied, when you complete one of their courses, you can get a certificate saying that you've gone through it. So if you feel that it would help your resume to not just say proficient in conversational Spanish, which is the lie I put on my resumes, you can make it instead say that you have taken the Spanish course through Mango Languages. You can have your little completion certificate saying that you've gone through the 12 hours of course. It's pretty fantastic.
Yeah, I really liked I've taken the Chinese, the Korean, and I'm working on the Spanish for librarians. And the Spanish for librarians, I have to say, has been incredibly helpful. And they do a good job of like getting you practicing like speaking as well as reading and writing. So I appreciate that.
It is quite good. It's a lovely thing. And the app is wonderful. So our final learning resource we're going to go through is Universal Class. I love Universal Class. They offer a lot of classes. So if you're going here for the first time, you're going to hit register now and go through that quick process, but it'll be putting in your library card and attaching an email address as well. I have been here before, so I'm going to sign in real quick. Okay, so as you can see, we log in and we immediately see the classes that I'm taking, which yes, do say 0 lessons completed, but don't worry about that. I'll finish them. So if you wanted to learn more about paranormal investigation, perhaps you are applying to work at a haunted house and you want to be able to dribble in a little bit of really excellent information about what you learned in your paranormal investigation class, you could take that here. Maybe you're applying to work at a craft store, so you can take this Knitting 101 class. I took Knitting 101 because I was suddenly teaching a knitting class, and I thought I should learn how to knit. And once you have finished up your class, you will receive a certificate, a continuing education certificate. You can see here my certificate for Cryptozoology 101. So you can take all sorts of classes. Admittedly, I kind of gravitate to their weirder classes, but that does not mean that's all they have. They have a lot of really wonderful classes in the areas that you might be interested in. And they have some that are sort of similar to the Lynda method in that they are a handful of things tied together to gear you towards a specific job. So I know if we go to law, legal, and criminal things, then if you just wanted to real quick get a little bit of information on contract law, or if you wanted to learn about, I'm hoping they still offer this class. Naturally. If you need to understand more about insurance, something that is useful for everyone, learning more about workplace compensation and workplace violence and preventing it, all of these things are super useful. So it's a good way to buff up your resume by going through a couple of these classes. They're not difficult, but they also are useful. You do learn something in the classes. If you want to know about platypi and why they are considered a victory for the cryptozoological community, just let me know, because you learn a lot in these classes. And they have them for all sorts of different areas. I know I encourage people to use Universal Class when they are preparing for tests. So if you are preparing for one of those tests that you saw in Learning Express, if you're trying to take the cosmology or cosmetology test, and you are seeing that your math skills are a little bit under what you need to take that test, then you can head on over to Universal Class and go through some of their basic math or Algebra 101 classes. And it's actually a really helpful way to brush up on those sorts of skills, or even learn completely new skills. You do have a teacher you're working with. They will email you feedback about what you've been putting in. So it's super convenient if you find that there is a hole in your knowledge area that you want to fill. This is a great way to do that. and they have a bunch of fun stuff.
And I will say, if you're ever looking to get some Con Ed credits at work, my mom lets her employees actually take these classes and then submit the certificate so they can get continuing education credits, which is awesome.
Excellent. That's good. They should let you do that. They're fantastic. Okay, I will pause real quick if anyone has any questions about some of our online learning options. And I just put the easy shortcuts to those links on here. The last one will be, or sorry, the second to last, I lied. We're gonna be looking at two databases of which I am fairly fond, Emergent Intellect and Reference USA. So these are great databases. I didn't explain what I was doing there. To access them, you're going to go to Research on the Tulsa Library webpage, and then you can scroll down to Databases right over here, and I'm going to open that in a new tab. The other place you can go to get to these specific ones is our Business Center, which kind of does the same thing the Career Center does. We put a bunch of our resources on the same subject together onto one web page so that you can go through all of them. So if you're interested in starting a new business, this is a great place to start. We have a bunch of free resources and also Tulsa-specific resources that are listed on this website. And they are fantastic. Plus, you can see over here, we list our events coming up, and the Research Wizards will be teaching a class on Reference USA on the 19th. They might not go over this part of Reference USA because it is a weird part of Reference USA. So let's get started. We want to start with Emergent Intellect.
Oh, I think you unshared your screen.
I think I did too. Annoying. Hey, we're back. Okay. And let's go to databases. So, gonna go to M for Emergent. We'll scroll down to Emergent Intellect. And head on over there. Okay, looks like it kept me signed on from when I was doing my test run earlier. But this is another one where if you're not in the library, it's going to ask you to put in your last name and your library card number, but it will be accessible from anywhere as long as you have those two things. So the reason I wanted to include Emergent is because it's really good for doing research on the companies you're applying to. And it's something that people forget about a lot, but it's so important that you have information about the company going into the application and especially the interview process, because they want to know that you want to work there and that you have looked into that company and that you know things about that company that would make you a good fit. So this is a good way to gain some knowledge on the company. So I'm going to put in Boeing, just because they're, you know, big. And if I do a search for the Boeing company, and then wait, it will eventually show me what I want it to show me. There it is. Okay, so Boeing I chose because they are big enough that I know they're going to have information like this available. But you can get all of this information about the company that you're looking to apply to. You can find out about their growth over past years. You can find out about competitive companies that they are against. You can learn the industry details are actually really interesting as well. When you're going through them, learning more about the industry, if it's not one that you're that familiar with, can be really handy. And this is a way to get an understanding of where they sort of fit within the broader scope of an industry, which can be helpful when you're actually going through the interview process. So if you want, you can use Emergent Intellect to do a little bit more digging into the company if you're not finding a lot of really useful information just by doing a quick Google, this is a great way to get more solid facts because they're going to give you statistics about the company. Caitlin, I want to have you have an opportunity to weigh in after all of my databases. Any thoughts on Mergent?
I had never thought to use Mergent in that way, and I think that's a great tip. I think that's fantastic. I know I always do a very deep dive of whatever job I apply for. Libraries probably don't show up in Merchant Intellect, but annual reports are a great place to look for information. So
I can't remember now, but I'm pretty sure.
yeah, I think they have the annual reports linked as one of the tabs in there. Oh, and the library is in there. I do remember that.
Yeah.
But not all libraries are in there.
This is true. But this is a good way to learn a little bit more about a company in that you can look at all the fun information I can find out just by going here. Who knew? Who knew that we have 540 employees and were founded in 1917? Great information that is available from Mergent Intellect. So the other one, okay. The last database we're going to be going over is Reference USA. Reference USA, in some ways, I'm going to show you how to use it in a similar way to how we use Mergent Intellect to find more information about a company when you're looking into whether or not you want to apply there, or if you're looking to have that information for going into an interview process. But they also have a job search function in Reference USA. That's just a fun fact that we will be exploring now. So Reference USA, again, it's a database that is accessible from anywhere, but you would need to put in your last name and library card number to get in. If we go to US Jobs and Internships, and usually the advanced search is going to be more what you want to do, but I'm just going to do a quick search for right now. But you can do a search of jobs in the area. So if I want to just search for who is hiring right now in Tulsa, Oklahoma, gonna go real broad, and it's gonna overwhelm Reference USA, and they're gonna take a while, but they will eventually return to me a list of job openings in Tulsa. And from here, okay, so I have 41 pages of jobs. The jobs are all generally ones that have been listed on Indeed, but it's still really handy. So when I go through here, I can click on the job, it'll take me to Indeed. Another fun thing that you can do, I can select all of these jobs and then hit email. And if I put in an email address, it would email me a spreadsheet of these jobs. So if I just have a few seconds to get on the computer and do a search for all of the construction jobs in Tulsa, then I can do that search. And if I do it through Reference USA, I can select all the ones I'm interested in, put in my email address, and I will receive a spreadsheet that has them laid out with the contact information, where it actually is, when the job was posted, so that you can have a nice handy reference sheet like that for that sort of information. Otherwise, to be honest, using Reference USA to search for jobs is very similar to just using Indeed because they have the same jobs, but I found that this is a pretty useful tool that I don't really see in a lot of other job sites, is a good way to export the list of results. So it's handy. And then, of course, we want to dig up some dirt about the business that we want to join. So Tulsa City-County Library, oops. View results. There we go. And we can find out some more information about the library. So we have different counts on the employees, which is always interesting. This one gives us information about the management Yeah, no, it is. I'm skeptical of what I'm seeing on there as well, Caitlin. Um, Maybe go merge it. But they also will have job listings. If they've been listed on Indeed, then when you're going through the company, they will have the job listings available there, as well as a bunch of information about the organization you're applying to, which is nice. It's all bundled together very well. Caitlin, do you have any Reference USA feelings? Other than most of the information they have is kind of creepy?
No, I will say the research wizards have some very good classes that they teach on Reference USA that I definitely recommend people check out.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, now let's review. We've gone over how much we love Job Now. It's great for everything, mostly for feedback on resume or interview tips. We've learned how to grow our skills using Lynda and the others. We have our insider knowledge that we're going to get from Merchant Intellect and Reference USA. And then because we're the library, it's time to talk about books. So, okay, we can look through some different book options. I always say that whatever the simple search term you're thinking of when you're thinking of how to explain what you want to search for, just use that one. So if you're saying I want to find books on resumes, just go with resumes. So if we put that in, we can find a bunch of wonderful books in our catalog. And there are a couple of ways that I would mess around with this list to make it a little bit easier for me to use. So one thing you can do, let's say that you know that you want to have a physical item. You're someone who prefers to actually hold a book in their hand. That's how you read them best. Then you can go over to book, narrow it to that. And if you want, it generally does a pretty good job of this with the relevance filter, but you can also change it to publication date if you know that you really want to make sure that you have the most up-to-date information on what you're looking at, so that you're not seeing a bunch of resume books from 2012 that you don't actually want to read. You can go through this and see very recent ones that have been written. You also, if we get rid of that book filter and do ebook, we have a lot of wonderful ebook options for whatever you're looking for when it comes to job help books. You can find resume templates, you can find interview tips, all sorts of things like that. You can find great books for that, and they will all have different information about where to get them from. One great thing about our ebooks is, depending on which ebook provider it is coming from, it might be something where you don't have to worry about waiting in line. So if we look at this motivated resumes and LinkedIn profiles, when it says down here, instantly available on Hoopla, that means that you would be able to, even if every other person in Tulsa County decided that they needed to read that book today, you would also be able to check that out, because with our Hoopla downloads, you get 6 downloads a month, but all ebooks are always available. So you don't have to worry about someone else having the book checked out, which is super handy, especially with test prep books, because there are so many people who want those. And it's the same with resume books. Everyone wants the newest resume book. So being able to get it as an ebook that is instantly available is really handy. I think that's most of what I have to say about books. Caitlin, what are your book thoughts? I know you have book thoughts.
I think I'm pro books.
Right, yes. I guess I forgot to say that.
Did you maybe want to show the subject terms?
Oh, yeah. Let's do that. Okay, I'm going to go back one, because yeah. So, another thing, I assume this is what Caitlin's talking about. When I'm looking to find more books on a specific subject, I will often look for, just do like the broadest thing I can do. And then when I find the one I'm interested in, you can go over here to subject headings. And then I can from here know that I want to find more books about LinkedIn, or I want to find more books on cover letters, a thing that I've never truly understood. And with a subject search, you're going to get a better section of results than you would with a keyword search, because it is actually going to be things that are specifically related to that, not just something that had the word resume in the title and there was a little bit of confusion there. So it's really handy to do a subject search instead of a keyword search to get a more defined list of results. I assume that's what you were going for.
It was. Thank you. Pro book.
Pro book. And these are some pro books. Because they're professional. That's really all I had. That would be most of the information that I wanted to impart to you all today. Are there any questions, or Caitlin, any things that you would like to bring up?
I haven't seen any questions in the chat, but I will be uploading this talk to our YouTube, and we'll get that sent out. I'll also email out next week this Jamboard that Ellen put together, as well as a list of resources that she talked about. And if anybody ever has questions about how to use these resources, please, please, please reach out to the library. We are happy to walk you through them and help yourself get a new job.
So true. Excellent.
Cool. Well, we'll stay on for just another minute if anybody does have questions.